All right. Hi. Oh, people are here. Okay, so I was trying to figure out a few things to do. Hi, Dr. AJ. Hi, Coach Val. All right, so I'm on here. Hopefully you can hear some music. My book comes out literally in a few more hours. And I have just a transparent moment. I'm trying to have like a little fun. It's like a little party. As a transparent moment, today was off for me. I was like, what is wrong? My heart was beating all fast. I put a story in Facebook and Instagram. Like, I couldn't breathe. And oh my gosh, I was having a panic attack. And I realized, like, oh my gosh, the book is coming out tomorrow. I am so nervous. And it's like, why am I nervous? This is my second book. So I text my sister. She was like, do I need to come home, come over there and get off work? And I was like, no. And then she actually came to pick me up, and then we went to go get a Christmas present for my grandmother. And I got me something to calm me down. So we out there in Bath and Body Works, of course, with the mask on, still with the mask. And I got a new camera. I got orange and the camera. I'm looking at my phone camera. I got new candle, orange ginger. Can you see that? And then I got sun-drenched linen, something to make me happy because I was like in a funk. So I got back to the house and my sister was like, you do realize you shared so much in this book that was nowhere near what you shared in the first one. So I labeled this, or tried to label this on Facebook. I'll fix it. But why do we all need to have our own personal journey? And hopefully my music isn't too loud. Why do we need to have our own personal journey? Well, as I was writing this book was years in the making before I even realized I wanted to write a certain type of book. I knew I wanted to write a book about my doctoral experience because it was hell. I'm just going to tell you the truth. But yes, I had to treat yes. Oh, I'll tell her, Ashley. She does ask about you. So I will tell her. But I was going to write the book about just my doctoral process. Like, that's it, because I want to put it all out. It was like a tell-all. And those of you who went through a doctoral program, you already know, especially if you have a person of color, we know what that's like. But it just never was the right time. And then I went on this journey where I lost myself and I couldn't figure out who Vernita was, because I was afraid, or I wasn't owning the fact that I was Dr. Vernita. I wasn't the same Vernita that I was before I entered the program. So I had to figure out who I was without my mom, without my grandfather, in this new space, trying to figure out life, because life used to come so easy to me. But now I was at a point where I had to make some decisions. So I started writing. I got the idea to write the book in the pandemic. So those of you who wish they could have written the book should have joined my writing challenge that I started back in July. But I didn't fully write the book. I just had the idea. And I was like, my birthday's coming up. My birthday was in September. And I was like, I think I want to have a book done by my birthday. That's how I get my inspiration. And I started writing it, and I was going to write it for educators. The original idea for this book was to empower educators. I had created a program to empower educators. I had created a Facebook group called Empower Educators Academy. I did all of that because I thought I wanted to focus on, if I can get educators to realize their power to go on a personal development journey, they would be better educators and administrators, right? I still fully believe that, but it was a disconnect somewhere in the book, and I got stuck for a very long time until I had a meeting with my mindset coach. And then I realized that people wanted to connect more with me, because people always ask, how did I do something? How did I start something? What was the process? And the process was coming back to me with a personal journey. I honestly believe all of us need to have some form of personal development. And again, this is different from therapy. If you want to go to therapy, if you need to go to therapy, by all means do that. I attempted to go to therapy after my mom passed in 2012, but I didn't go for a couple of months later after she passed. But that wasn't enough for me. It was like, okay, I told you, like, if you're a high achiever like me, you can fool a therapist. I'm sorry to all of my therapists, but sometimes you can, because if you don't open up, then the therapist can only do so much. But when I had to go on a personal development journey for myself, there was no one around to fool but Vernita. I had to turn inside and ask myself some really hard questions. And that's what I want to challenge you all to do. My book does walk you through some of those exact same exercises that I had to do, because I believe in practical learning. But I believe that we all need to turn inward. We have 10 more days before, well, if this day count, like this day is almost over, but we have 10 more days for most of you that are going to come back and watch this. About 10 more days before 2021, and that is enough time to really sit and reflect in certain areas. I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about the book. If you haven't been following me on Instagram, if you haven't been looking at my Facebook post, the book is called Embracing Grit for Greatness. It's going to look like this. Can you see? It's going to look like this. My sister took my picture. It was a recreation of this. Like, I just had this picture for a while, and I was just playing around and said, "Oh, I think I want to make this the cover," and it turned out to be the cover that we recreated. So it talks about having courage to go after the life you want, both professionally and personally. I know that I've done wonders in my professional life, but not so much in my personal life. It's like when you get over a certain age, when you go on the other side of 30, and then like you're still single, you don't have any kids, you're like, what's wrong with me? And nothing like that doesn't define a woman. So please understand what I'm saying. But people always look at you and say, "You're not married yet? You don't have any kids yet? What's wrong with you?" And I used to think something literally was wrong with me. And it was like, well, is my professional life not enough? Like, why do you keep asking me that? But then it bothered me enough, and I'm just putting all my business out there, but you'll read stuff in the book. But then I had to turn inward, like, what was really wrong with me? Not wrong, but there was something inside of me that was causing me to repel relationships. And I'll just be honest, it really was. It was something in me to cause me to repel relationships. And I wouldn't have known that unless I did my personal journey, went through my personal growth. Because then I believe you get to a point where either you do want to be in a long-term relationship or married, or however you want to define that, or you want to be single. There's nothing wrong with either one of those, but you have to come to the conclusion of what was best for you. Not being married because someone said, "Oh, it's about that time," and then not being single because people are like, "Oh, your standards are too high," and all of that garbage that people used to say to me. So I had to go uncover some things, and I had to have the courage to do that. And that's what I talk about in the opening of the book. That's actually chapter 1, talking about the courage to go after the life you know that you desire. And then the second thing I had to do was really talk about being conscientious. And it's a really big word. You'll see it in the book, but it's all about paying attention to details and paying attention to details in your life. I said this at the event I had with my like-minded sister circle on Sunday. We did a breakthrough through 2021 event. If you missed that, now you got to wait till next year because it was a powerful event. But I had a session there, and I went through these steps, and I'm going to keep talking about these steps, especially all through 2021. So don't act like you're tired of hearing it, because you're going to keep hearing it. But paying attention to details in your personal life just as much as you pay attention to those details in your professional life. A lot of us are high achievers. A lot of us go into those jobs, our businesses, and make sure everything is on point. Every T is crossed, every I is dotted, but we don't do that in our personal lives. And then we look around and wonder, like, why is my life falling apart? You feel great leaving the job, and then when you come home or come into your personal space, you don't feel so great because you haven't taken the time to look around and say, you know what? Who am I outside of my career? What have I been overlooking? Have I been overlooking my health? Have I been overlooking my wellness, my mental state, my emotions, all of that? And then the third thing that we talk about in chapter 3 is talking about resilience. And we do. A lot of us are very resilient, especially in our professional lives. We're very resilient in our professional lives. We can get that coworker to tell us something, and we're like, who are you talking to? It's like, whatever. It may knock us down for like 5 minutes, and then we come right back and do what we're supposed to do. But in our personal lives, if we go through a breakup, it could take months or years to get over. If a family member hurts us, we don't go near them, or we stay away for months at a time, or sometimes years at a time and become estranged. If it's a close friend, we end relationships because we don't have that bounce back muscle. Like, it hurts us to our core. And it's like, well, why does it not devastate us in our professional lives, but we can be devastated in our personal lives? And then we talk about endurance in chapter 4 in the book. And endurance is, how long are you going to stick with the goal of being your best self? Are you going to give up? Are you going to say, you know what, I've been at this too long, I'm tired? And I'll admit, I've sat down on myself in my personal life so many times. If there's a relationship that I wanted to work on, I was like, you know what? It's been a couple months. I think I'm about to go. Like, I don't want to do this. But when I was on tenure track as a professor, I made sure I wrote those articles how they wanted, no matter how many times the editor sent back a manuscript saying revise and resubmit. I was going to keep revising and resubmitting until it was published. I'm going to conferences, applying for speaking engagements at these national conferences that I did. I would do these long proposals. I would send out, and I would keep going. I had the endurance to do that. But again, like I said, in a personal life, I don't want to do this no more. If it's health, it's like I give up. I was like, okay, I've been doing this for like 2 months and I don't see the results I want, so I'm just going to give up. I told you about the relationships, and it can be anything. If you want to practice meditation and you've been doing it for 5 minutes and you've been doing the same 5 minutes for 2 months, you quit. So in the book, I talk about why do we give up on ourselves personally, but not professionally. Because I asked this question in one of my Instagram posts. I said, if you had to walk away from your business, if you had to walk away from your titles, if you had to walk away from your professional life, who would you be? Who would you be? And us being in the quarantine or the pandemic, this was the perfect time for us to figure out who would we be outside of all of those titles. And I had to do that. It was a very painful process for me because I've always been that my academics were always like the forefront. That's what defined me. Me being smart always defined who I was. Now, sometimes I didn't think I was so smart or anything like that, but when people saw me, they're like, oh my gosh, you're so intelligent, you're so smart, this, that, and the other. And a lot of people would be shocked because they would say the way that I look, and I'm like, I don't get that. But they were like, the way that I don't look like I should be in a STEM profession. I don't look like I should have a PhD and all of that stuff. But me being smart has always been what was out and defined me, until I got into situations like my doctoral program, and it was like, you being smart is no longer enough. Now we're looking at the color of your skin. And that had never happened to me before, ever. So then that was a whole nother identity shift. And then when I got to higher ed to work as a college professor, that was another thing I had to learn how to understand who Vernita was outside the title, because again, being smart wasn't enough. So I had to learn some endurance on that part too. And then the last thing we talk about in the book is choosing excellence over perfection. I used to wear being a perfectionist with the badge of honor. I used to be like, I'm a perfectionist. That's how I want things. It's either my way or no way. Or I just felt like being a perfectionist was a good thing. No, it's not, because it keeps you stuck. It keeps you stuck. And I honestly believe that we can keep a little bit of the perfectionist if we are perfectionists. I believe we can keep a little bit, but to the point where it was controlling me and I couldn't get past things. So it was like, so I'll give you an example because I'm all about the examples. So I would create something, let's say like a course, and as a professor, I would create this course I would think would be so great. But I would get hung up on the small things and not present it in the way that I knew I could present it, because I was so worried about what were they going to say about it, what were the students going to say about it. It didn't look like the other college professors, but it had to be just right, because I was like, they're going to judge me because of, I'm this black female in this predominantly white institution that don't have a lot of faculty of color. So I was like, everything had to be perfect. And then but it really didn't have to be perfect. So I never produced what I needed to produce until I got over the fact that I needed to be so perfect. So then I started focusing on being excellent. I had to ask myself, Vernita, is this the best work that you can produce at this moment, at this time? When the answer was yes, then I let it go. No attachment, no judgment. And it was regardless of whatever they said, because I did it. I knew it was up to my standard, and I did everything I knew how to do, and I detached myself from the outcome. So I talk about a lot of those things that's in the book tomorrow, and we go a lot deeper into the book. Actually grew a lot more than I expected to grow. It was beyond the educators that I shifted from. If you are an educator, you can still read the book. If you are someone in business, you can still read the book. Like I said, it's about high achievers, and you get to define what a high achiever is. I think a high achiever is anyone who's out there doing the doggone thing and not, using life, what's happening as an excuse. So if you're a high achiever, this book is for you, because my goal is to make sure that we all do our part in society. I believe that we were all created with special gifts and talents, and the world isn't in the best shape because we've buried a lot of our gifts and talents, and I think that's like a disservice. So in order for us to show our real gifts and talents, we have to uncover a lot of stuff that was placed on top of us by society, family, friends, ourselves. And once we uncover all of that, going on our own personal journey, we can truly embrace grit. Okay, Mustang out there. We can truly embrace grit and be great for who we are and who we're supposed to serve in the world. One more thing, if you're not sure what the title means, and I'm just giving you all the backstory. Embracing grit for greatness. I talked about this somewhere on one of my lives. Again, if you are a high achiever, you've gone through those 5 stages that I told you about. Those 5 stages are the 5 characteristics of grit. Grit is a research study. You can go look at Angela Duckworth, all of that, and it was like back in the 1970s as well. If we can do that for our professional lives, why can't we do that for our personal lives? So that's why it's embracing grit for greatness, how to become professionally powerful through personal empowerment. Because I believe a lot of us haven't even touched the surface of our professional lives. Yet people say that there's a glass ceiling and we can't shatter it, but I believe we have our personal glass ceilings, and that's why we're not excelling at the level we know we should be excelling. Okay, I talked a lot. Thank you all. I still have people hanging on. Thank you so much. And look forward to the book tomorrow. I will be up early. I'm going to post it. It will be available on Amazon. I'm going to be in and out all day telling you to grab this book, Embracing Grit for Greatness. And the reason why we're doing it on this day, because I want you to help me to get to Amazon's #1 bestseller list. But most importantly, if you didn't catch it yesterday, tomorrow is also the anniversary of my grandparents. My grandfather passed away in 2012. And before that, him and my grandmother, they were together over 50 years, right? So had he been alive, it would have been closer to 60. So I wanted to make sure the date that I was releasing this book was special, and that was the day. And then I also realized it is a solstice for... I'll let you look it up. I went to go look, I was like, oh, it's about to be the Christmas star. My sister said, no, go check out Black Twitter and see what Black Twitter is saying about this Christmas star. So go on there and look up what kind of solstice this is and for tonight. Yeah, okay, I'm being the nerd moment. But anyway, so thank you so much for joining me. I will catch you all next time, and I will see you all tomorrow as you go onto Amazon and grab your copy. All right, thank you so much, Coach Val. Thank you so much. I will see you all tomorrow. Make sure you get ready and download on Amazon tomorrow. Bye. Instagram, we're still here. Woo! Okay, now I'm getting off. I'm just playing. Bye, Instagram.